Go. Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Today we are taking a look at Chromie. So I've actually come into quite like Chromie. This is an unranked draft, and we're going to take her for a spin. This is actually a really interesting draft as well. Actually, one of the most interesting drafts I've ever seen, I think. So it was on Towers of Doom. It's Chromie's best map. So I said, what the heck, I'm going to take her out for a spin. Probably not the best first pick because it is open to being countered. And indeed, that's exactly what the enemy team did right away from the very start. They picked up Li Ming and Medivh. So Medivh, also another hero that I really like as well. And obviously, one of Medivh's strengths is that he can shield burst damage, which is what Chromie does. And Chromie's combo, which you'll see me showing off a bit in this game, will get mostly countered by Medivh, to be fair. But I thought it was worth showing. But yeah, like he brings a lot of burst counter, and he can also help people dive on top of Chromie using his portal. So he's very nice against her, as is Li Ming. Li Ming has the range damage to attack Chromie, the range on her spells to attack Chromie, and she also can get force armor at level 1, which really neutralizes a lot of Chromie's damage and pick potential as well. So two really nice counter picks. We followed that up. Our team had two picks. You can see there's a bit of throwdown in mid lane going on at the moment. Just trying to poke as much as I can, getting a big hit off from that Li Ming orb, kind of chunking me there, but not too good. But the enemy team, our team, sorry, then followed it up with, we picked Rhaegar, which is nice. Don't get our support early, not too bad, doesn't really reveal anything. And then we also picked Muradin. So the Muradin pick was okay. I don't think it was amazing. As you guys will know from watching my series as well, is that, you know, when the enemy team locks in Li Ming, I basically go, okay, this calls for a Nubarak, because a Nubarak is just, he blocks her skill shots, he soaks up so much damage with dampen magic, and he's really nice. Our teammate didn't pick him up, and in fact, as you can see, looking at this game, the enemy team did get him. So the bans came through, forget what they weren't too important. Then the enemy team, straight after that ban phase, they picked up a Nubarak and Greymane. So again, they just completely counterpicked the Chromie. A Nubarak, pretty damn good against the Chromie, good at diving on top of her. Pretty good at resisting all the spell damage and the burst because of dampen magic. The Medivh can block so much of that burst damage as well. Li Ming, very good mage against Chromie too. And yeah, just really nice picks from them to counter what I had picked up. But then my team followed it up with Arthas Lunara. So that's really cool. Okay, so look what's going on here. The enemy team have counterpicked Chromie, who's doing like burst ability damage. So basically our teammates say, all right, well that's fine, we're just gonna keep up some steady damage then instead. So get Lunara, who's got incredible sustained damage and spread damage across all different heroes. Guess what? Medivh's Force of Will, his invulnerability bubble, really does absolutely nothing really against Lunara damage, because it persists. It's this overtime dot. So really nice pick there. And also Lunara and Arthas are a fantastic combo together as well. You can see we're just fighting over these altars and such. I'll talk about the Talons and the Chromie play after this. But yeah, just really nice. So Lunara, she's going to be able to do a lot of spread damage. She's going to have the Arthas and Muradin zoning for her. Like, sure, they've got the enemy team, I should say, the Greymane as well. Very good anti-mage. He could just dive on those mages and rip them apart. He's got the mobility and then the damage to really do that. Certainly he's a threat to Lunara as well, but we've got a couple of really strong warriors for peeling him off of her and keeping her safe. So that's pretty nice for them. And yeah, like the Arthas, because he slows people constantly near him with his Frozen Tempest, is it? Frozen Waste? I'm not sure. His E spell. And then Lunara gets the Unfair Advantage talent at level 13, which increases the damage for poison against slow targets. And, you know, Muradin will be doing some slows as well with his Thunderclap. So there's a lot. I really like the draft. The enemy team then answered that. They said, okay, shit, they're going to have suddenly a whole ton of sustained damage that we're going to have to deal with. So they picked up Lili, actually, is their final pick, is their healer. I think it's one of those situations where Lili is actually good. Lili's weakness, again, is one of those things people go, oh, Lili's weak because you can just cancel her ult, her heroic or Jug of 1,000 Cups. Not really true at all, actually. It's quite difficult to counter, though if you do it in draft too early, then the enemy team can obviously pick something good like Sylvanas or, you know, Thrall with the Sundering, kind of, or Johanna, something like that. Something that can interrupt her quite easily. A lot of heroes can't, but some can. It just leaves her open to being counterpicked. But picking her sort of a bit later in the draft, she does a lot of sustained healing, a lot of mana efficient sustained healing. She's going to be good against Lunara, and most importantly, they already have the Medivh, which will cover Lili's big weakness, which is her lack of burst healing. If someone gets caught out, if someone starts getting focused, there's nothing that she can do really to save them. She's very weak at that. So yeah, really interesting draft. Alright, let's talk a bit about Chromie. Let's talk a bit about Chromie. Also, there was some pro play from Chromie, from MVP Black, no less, over on OGN Global on Twitch, if you want to watch that as well. It's in one of their games against Water White, I think the name was the team was. I think it was the final. It was on Cursed Hollows, and they picked Chromie. They didn't actually have a very good draft, but they're such a good team they could pull it off, I think. But yeah, so Chromie. I'm going to presume you know what her abilities do already. Level 1 I picked up, I think it's Compounding Ether. Basically, it's her Q stacking talent. You land a few Qs. After you've landed them, it will give it just a straight, flat damage buff to her Qs from then on, which is pretty decent. You can see I'm trying to land my skill shots on this Medivh. I actually do land most of them, but he does get out just before I can finish him off with a basic attack. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's your go-to level 1. You can also get the Dragon's Breath, I think it's called, which is your W stacking talent, which also gives you a vision thing at the end. That's pretty damn solid as well. The only problem is that you really need to get the Mobius Loop level 7, or I suppose for Chromie level 6 talent, in order to get that, which does reduce the cooldown of your W. In fact, at level 7, let's just skip and go straight to level 7 and mention that very quickly as well. Mobius Loop is the one I decided to pick up in this particular game. It reduces the mana cost and the cooldown of your W, but it does less damage, so it makes her kind of burst combo a little less bursty, but it improves her DPS overall. It lets you cast that W much more often. The reason I obviously picked that up in this game was, well, Medivh, right? I don't want to throw out this huge high impact W spell with a really long cooldown that hits really hard, and then just have Force of Will come out and just completely cancel it. What I decided to go for instead was, unfortunately, I was trying to cast that obviously on Greymane and I completely missed, so that kind of sucked. Obviously, as you can see, Nubkeks really not taking any damage from that. I was kind of hoping Greymane would run back out there. In fact, he does run into my W. I was hoping it might kill him with my other spell though, but no such luck. Oh well. And then running into flaming missiles. But yeah, I decided to pick up Mobius Loop. Just say, okay, make W less of a big impact spell. Just make it more of a regular spell, a regular cooldown spell, because that is what's going to work against Medivh the best, and also against the Nubkeks as well, kind of. Level 4. I think it's probably the most important talent. You see me using it all the time. It's Bronze Talons. This is actually my favorite talent on Chromie. And I was kind of thinking about this, and I was like, if you said to me, okay, no, but you have to play Chromie, but you can either choose to play her with no heroic ability or without the level 4 Bronze Talons talent, which one would you prefer? I would actually give up my heroic ability before giving up Bronze Talons. I love Bronze Talons so much. It improves your basic attack range, which is kind of nice. The main thing it does though is after every Q, it empowers your next basic attack. So one of Chromie's big weaknesses is obviously you're doing all these skill shots, yeah? And they're hard to land. Let's face it, they're hard to land. You don't land all of them. It's impossible to land all of them. You're just kind of trying to fire them out here. You see what happened there? You might want to rewind that a little bit. Got slightly baited in. I think the enemy team just played that really well, but got slightly baited in by the Lunara. Really interesting. I thought, looking at my own play there, it was like the mark of a good player, but not like an absolute top player, right? Is that mark of a good player. Lunara, we were kind of running away. We were in a bad position. Lunara turned around to attack. I immediately turned around and sort of ran with her. So just immediately instinctively supporting my teammates. So that's the mark of a good player. You know, your teammates make a call, you just go in with them, right? It's one of those kind of adages that people have for Here's the Storm is, you know, it's better to support a bad play than it is to, you know, everyone be doing good plays with no team synergy, which, you know, is roughly speaking true, I suppose. Kind of screwed it up there though. But yeah, basically, instead, so I had the right idea to try support Lunara, but what I should have done, a better player would have said, wait, I'm on Chromie, I'm really long range, if I go in here I could die, I can support her just as well if I keep running away, and I can just fire spells backwards. So that was kind of interesting. The problems of being a flex player, I guess. I just thought it was an interesting little play there, that moving back in on top of Lunara, and then really nice play from the enemy team, just collapsing instantly. The Nubkeks, very nice play from him. I don't know if I said this already, but this Eldris guy, he was in my my drafting guide video, and he impressed me in that game, and he impressed me in this game as well. We also played I played another game with him as well, when he was on my team. I didn't make a video of it though. That was a beautiful play by the enemy team. Leyline Seal doing work, guys. Leyline Seal doing work. Li Ming unfortunately not aiming her laser perfectly, and Arthas walks away with about 1 hit point. But that was really nice play by the enemy team. The power of being on probably, I assume, voice comms, or else just playing with friends. I think they were like a triple queue and a duo queue. Could be wrong. Something like that though. But yeah, I love Bronze Talons at level 4. I think it's fantastic. It adds point and click damage that can't be dodged, yeah? It's easy to land, you know, and you can target it on whoever you want to. You've got very long range basic attack, so it's very easy to land. You've seen me use it extensively throughout this game to just win trades in lane, to bully heroes around and just land a whole lot of damage. This is a huge increase on your damage, and it's kind of reliable and consistent. You can see this here. I was kind of I was doing a YOLO engage. That was definitely not good. Definitely not good on my part. Again, this is in the context of just this massive losing streak. And very unfortunate losing streak. Just, it's been pretty much impossible to win a game. Just horrific luck. So you can definitely see the mild tilt coming through, I would say. Obviously not getting angry like throwing out an XD, just finding it kind of funny, but just doing some kind of stupid stuff, somewhat knowing that they're stupid, but just being frustrated a little bit with just losing game after game after game. So that was kind of silly. I was kind of, to be fair, expecting my team to respond a bit quicker to that. Yeah, not expecting the enemy team to respond as quickly. It's one of the things, I felt like the enemy team, their play around the map wasn't that great, but it was like when they were grouped up, then like you could really see they had more coordination than a team would ordinarily have, just like with just 5 random players. You kind of tell that they have voice chat and stuff. But yeah, you'll see me using the Bronze Talons to kind of bully people around a little bit, and even if I miss abilities, look, there you go, like it does big 400 damage chunk to Greymane. It also improves your burst combo right here. You see Greymane do, or not Greymane, the Medivh doing work right there, blocking that out. But yeah, it makes your burst very powerful. So level, for my heroic ability, I did pick up Temporal Loop. I would actually say in this game it was probably a bad choice because they have Medivh and they have Li Ming. He's also not too vulnerable against it, and they could, in theory, a good players will, in theory, take Cleanse and really counter out what you're trying to do. But needless to say, I did decide to go Temporal Loop. It's more fun, I feel. And it's the more generally useful heroic, I think, as well. But yeah, basically, you throw down the Temporal Loop. When it's halfway down, you throw down your W, then you throw down your Q, then you land that Bronze Talons empowered basic attack, and it does stupid amounts of burst damage, and it's really cool, and you'll definitely catch people out and get a lot of kills. It's pretty damn swanky. Our teammates do pick off the Li Ming there. I'm just firing these skill shots kind of long range, trying to do damage to this Medivh. Unfortunately, I just missed him right there, but that's okay. And throw some hits in. The enemy team has respawned. I feel like we've overstayed our welcome right here. Someone might die. Yeah, looking pretty bad right there. Unfortunately, Greymane did walk into my time trap, which I hadn't exactly planned for. So he does walk out alive, which kind of sucks. But we'll try our best. I do land the W on him, but because I have Mobius Loop, it isn't enough damage to actually kill him, which is somewhat unfortunate. We'll land a lot of damage in there. You see that? You see that damage on Lily? Absolute huge burst damage down on the Lily. I'm just kind of trying to throw as much burst damage in as I can as well. I'm trying to not waste my burst on the Medivh shield. But yeah, Chromie, she's pretty good. She's pretty powerful, I have to say. She's had some interesting tweaks to her talents, which is why I feel like there might be a bit more opening up in terms of her talent builds. Specifically kind of nerfs to some of her Q talents. You'll see I'm still going to go for some of those late game ones. Like the one, I forget what they're called, but you have the range, obviously, at level 13, or I suppose for Chromie level 12, is probably your go-to. The extra range is really, really nice, but I quite like all of those talents actually on that tier. Then for level 16, let's just say them as they are. For other heroes, level 16, I picked up the one that stacks ability power as you land your successive Qs. It's probably not your go-to. You probably want the activatable ability power boost. That's probably the most useful, but I just decided to go for this one, seeing as I was just playing a kind of once-off Chromie game, you know? I wasn't super up to touch. But look at that, beautiful play by the Medivh, really countering that very well. Our team kind of committed quite hard to try to get that, and looks like we're going to pay the price with our lives afterwards. Indeed we are. Goodbye. That was rather unfortunate. Very nice play by the enemy team, especially Medivh. Yeah, they've got nice counter picks to the Chromie, and they're doing well. Of course, it should mean that Lunaro will be kicking ass, so we'll see how things go. It's a pretty even game so far, 20-20. Yeah, level 20, again, one of the big changes, I think, was that they buffed the, her other heroic ability, which is slowing sands. You put that in as AoE slow. They improved that substantially. Not only its base level 10 version, but also its level 20 upgrade as well. And they nerfed kind of the other, what has been the other go-to level 20 ability. See right there? That Li Ming would have been dead if it wasn't for Medivh. He's also picked up the heal off his W as well, off Force of Will. The reabsorption, which heals people for some of the damage they take, which is just, it's making them take basically massive heals for my damage, which is upsetting me quite a lot, needless to say. My time trap's definitely not working in my favor, but oh well. I'm going to try kill him if I can. There we go. I should have actually stood a bit closer to land that final basic attack and actually kill him. That's a bit of a noob move on my part. Looks like our team, though, is coming around, and they will maybe pick that off by themselves. They're certainly trying. Looks like they should. Yeah, they will. There we go. Blow up the Lily, actually. Okay, Greymane actually survived that. Wasn't expecting that, but he did. Look at this, Medivh. Boom, boom. Chromie burst, everyone. That was just from a Q. Hit him with the Q, hit him with a basic attack, and he absolutely explodes. Chromie can do crazy amounts of damage. She can do absolutely crazy amounts of damage. Her big weaknesses, obviously, as I think you've seen in this game already, is that, well, she gets countered by anti-mage heroes. So Stitches, Nubkeks, Greymane, anyone like that. Medivh. Tastar is fairly decent against her as well. It's just counter burst. She also gets wrecked by cleanse because you can cleanse temporal loop and it won't do anything. But most people don't know how to do that, at least from what I've seen. So you don't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, I was kind of frustrated, you know, in one of these unranked draft games that they would actually pick up Medivh. That was, I was like kicking myself after that. I was like, oh no, that's the worst. Li Ming, Medivh. I was like, oh, it's hard to imagine. You know, that's one of the worst, like, double picks to come straight after a Chromie first pick. I was like, kind of hoping I'd get away with it, and they kind of punished it. But she is very good on this map. As you can see, there's a lot of somewhat narrow choke points, and she can really exploit her range. Let's try and do some damage to this Lily. Again, I'm being somewhat kind of reckless with my use of my heroic ability. I was caught out here because of that shrink ray from Lily. I really was not expecting that, or kind of accounting for that. Lunara could have killed Greymane right there, but she didn't. So I was a little bit annoyed by that, but oh well. It was definitely my fault being a bit overzealous, but I'm using my temporal loop kind of just very recklessly in this game. Not recklessly is not quite the right word. Indiscriminately, that's the word I'm looking for. I'm using it indiscriminately because they do have Medivh, because within a team fight, they will be able to deal with it quite well. I'm not expecting to ever be able to get, you know, a good temporal loop off, really. They're going to be able to counter it very well. What you could do in order to deal with it is you could potentially, you know, once they see the temporal loop coming down, our team could just dive other people because we know Medivh is saving his W for that person. They could try to stun Medivh or something. There's a few different things they could potentially do to try to deal with that. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a tough situation. You've got to try and make the most of a bad situation is the way I would put it. But things have taken a turn for the worse at the moment. We are certainly up a little bit in terms of experience, and we're up several shots on the core, which is pretty good. We'll see how things go. The enemy team, they're putting up a very good fight. It's been a pretty even game overall, I think. And I'm glad it was, because I felt that the draft definitely reflected or made a pretty even game. The thing that you would kind of hope for and expect. I felt both teams kind of counter-drafted each other really nicely. And they made quite nice team comps actually together with really nice synergies between them as well. I was really impressed with what they did. Again, I think really the only major errors I saw from either team, I think the only two errors really in terms of the drafting was on our team. Number one was me first picking Chromie. It was a bit of a YOLO pick, picking Danger Lunara. She's probably going to die. She's pushing very aggressively and the whole enemy team is missing. We know they're not down bottom. And then picking up Muradin instead of picking up the Nubkeks against the Li Ming, and then letting the enemy team get Nubkeks instead. So they were the only two, I think, errors. But they're reasonably allowable errors, I think. But oh well. Let's see how things go. So Lunara did indeed get picked off up top. I thought that was fairly obvious from where I was watching. Especially, I suppose I had something of an advantage being bottom lane myself where the enemy team had been. And then obviously realizing that they weren't there. By the way, when you see me throwing these Qs kind of randomly, I know that the Qs don't damage the minions. I'm just doing it to get procs on my bronze talons. Chromie has like no mana issues whatsoever, so I'm able to do that and get away with it. This is looking pretty bad. So I've landed this on Medivh. Look at this. He's just going to come out. He's going to do his thing. Reabsorption just heals him up to full. Unfortunate right there. Unfortunate. He's got the right things. I was kind of just hoping that he wouldn't have the W on ready to use, but he did. And there you go. We overextend is what I would say. Far too far forwards. Our team pushes too far forwards. And yeah, I mean, once I get caught out of position, there's nothing you can do on Chromie, and that is that. We really shouldn't be pushing into a 3 versus 5. There's 2 altars spawning right now, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be just game right here. They've 6 shots, 2 altars, and a boss. Yeah, that's game. Oh, no, they're actually just going to take the bottom tower. Oh well. But yeah, there you go. We'll take a look at the stat screen, because there are a few more things I want to point out, specifically as to how the draft's actually played out, considering what sort of hero comps we have. I think there's something that was quite interesting that really stood out to me when I was looking at this afterwards. But I hope that was a pretty decent insight into Chromie, even though it was a lost game in the end. I hope you got a pretty good feel for her, what she's capable of. And I think because, you know, it was a lost game, and because they were able to counterpick me, I think we got to see not only some of her strengths, but also her weaknesses as well. And I think that is quite important. I'm just throwing out the GG. I thought it was quite a good game. Again, I've been on this big losing streak, just losing everything. And definitely a lot of the games have been very frustrating. I felt that that one, all things considered, was actually pretty good. I liked the draft from both teams. I, for the most part, liked how both teams played. It was fun to play against Eldris. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So here you go. The one thing that I really noticed here on this screen in particular, I might come back to the stat screen, but just check out the talents. There is the talent build if you're looking for it. Again, I think you could mix it up. I think with Mobius Loop at 7, you could take the W talent level 1. But as you can see, this is the thing I was noticing. I was like, why is Lunara's damage so low? Her hero damage is only 60k. It's lower than me. I'll talk about why that's pretty bad considering. And it's actually about the same as Arthas. So there you go. I was just checking out the talent builds. Yeah, that is the Chromie one. Again, you can mix up that level 1 talent if you do pick Mobius Loop at level 7. If you don't pick Mobius Loop at level 7, I actually quite like the other two. You can go for Dragon's Eye for like a Temporal Loop blow-up build, but it can be countered quite easily, which is why I didn't go for it in there. Anyway, let's pause the screen right here. And let's take a look at the stat screen, because I thought this was really interesting. Specifically, the thing that stood out to me again was the Lunara hero damage. It's really, really low. That being said, her siege damage is very high, which is what you'd expect. And her XP contribution was actually very high. So she was presumably kind of laning quite a lot and soaking XP, which is potentially why part of her hero damage is quite low, but you would normally expect her hero damage to be quite high. Another reason, again, there were several reasons why I was kind of going, I didn't watch her play specifically throughout that game, so I can't say for sure, but looking at that stat screen and looking at the compositions, what I would say is that I'm going, okay, I first picked Chromie, the enemy team spent 4 hero picks, essentially just counter-picking me thoroughly. Now, to be fair, the Li Ming and the Greymane are pretty decent against Lunara as well. But that being said, we have a Muradin and Arthas zoning for her, so she should be fairly safe. It should be very difficult for either Li Ming or Greymane to actually get on top of her and actually get any damage on her. Potentially, though, it's possible that Muradin and Arthas didn't play well. Again, I'm not sure, but just looking at comps, if that's what you would expect, is that she should actually be fairly safe. And she should be getting a lot of damage down. The enemy team is very much spec'd to deal with burst damage, essentially to deal with the Chromie. So for me to do more damage than her is pretty bad, considering that a lot of my damage has been blocked by Medivh. Yeah, look at Medivh's healing. His healing is really, really high. 42,000 damage. A lot of that is actually my damage that he's blocked. That burst damage that I'm trying to throw out with my abilities. Very easy for him to block it. And yeah, then we've got the Nubkeks absorbing that as well. Lunara is usually quite good against Nubkeks because, well, she gets the poison down on him, and the poison keeps triggering his dampened magic, all right, for nothing, essentially, for just this tiny ticking poison damage. So it just keeps removing that for the actual burst damage that he wants to be blocking with it. Yeah, I was kind of looking at it going, okay, they've got like their major threats, kind of Greymane, Li Ming. Very difficult for them to get onto Lunara, considering the composition that we have. Their Medivh is mostly going to be focusing on dealing with me, to be honest. Yeah, We also have the Arthas, who picked up, you know, he's doing the slows, and Lunara, I did check, as you saw, she did pick up the bonus damage on her poison from slowed hero, on slowed targets. So I was kind of thinking, like, yeah, she's got so much set up for her to do a lot of damage. Like, you would really expect Lunara to be doing a lot of damage. When you look at the compositions, and how the draft went and everything, if I said to you, Lunara's going to come out of this with the same amount of hero damage as Arthas, you kind of go, what? What the hell? You can't be serious. Like, how does Lunara with Arthas and a Muradin combo against a team that is set up to deal with burst damage? How does she not have higher hero damage than Arthas? So that was just something I noticed. Now, potentially, again, I didn't watch the game in particular. With that in mind, that was just my view on it. On the stat screen at the end, and then when I was watching this back to the commentator, I was just watching, for the most part, kind of my play and what you heard me commentating about. But I was really surprised. I kind of looked at that and thought, you know, hey, if someone gave you a blank number for Lunara's hero damage at the end of this game and said, how much hero damage do you think she did? You know, Muradin did 40k, Rhaegar did 25, Arthas did 60, and Chromie did 85, you know, going up against this team with the Medivh and everything. You'd say, it wouldn't be unreasonable. Like, if I said 80k, you'd say, yeah, well, definitely, you know, 100k wouldn't be totally unreasonable. But definitely saying 60k, the same amount of damage as Arthas, that's pretty bad considering everything was set up. So even though we did have those really good drafts, and I think really interesting drafts, I think the Lunara pick didn't really work out. Again, I'm not entirely sure why. Potentially didn't play that well. Potentially the enemy team really did focus more on countering him than I realized. Potentially our warriors didn't play great. I don't know. But it was something that stood out to me as being probably one of the primary reasons that we lost that game. Yeah, is that, well, if myself and Arthas are doing as much damage as Lunara, it's going to be really hard because the enemy team is really set up to deal with what Arthas and Chromie can do. They're really not, though, set up to deal with what Lunara can do. The sort of spread damage that she can do, they really can't deal with that very well, and they should basically start being punished very hard for that, and we can pick people off. Oh well, though, I thought it was an interesting game. I hope that was a good insight into Chromie, and also a little bit of an insight into drafting. I do think Chromie is a pretty nice hero, and she's very good on Towers of Doom. Wouldn't recommend her as a first pick. Yeah, definitely wouldn't recommend that. But if you can get her a bit later in the draft, when the enemy team is not in a position to pick up heroes that really counter her as a mage, I think that's a good thing to do. Again, like in that first pick slot, I would definitely pick Li Ming over Chromie. Li Ming is much more flexible than Chromie is, as well as bringing that sort of long range poke damage and ability to do burst damage as well. So yeah, but there you go. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a fun game. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give it a like if you liked it, and yeah, I will see you all next time for some more Heroes of the Storm as the losing streak continues. All right, guys, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.